Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success.
Hi, everybody. We are so happy to have you here today, and we're so lucky. We have someone with us who is a guest today that I deeply admire and respect. Her name is Megan Shore. She is the founder of Shore Law, and she went out and started her own firm. She is an expert trial lawyer and specializes in medical malpractice and also nursing home abuse. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Megan. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's kick us off. So this is all about kind of the intersection between law and business. And when I met you, I was just really in awe about everything that you've been able to accomplish in such a short period of time. So Kellye Raymond here on my left, she is very young like you and went out on her own. So I'm always so impressed by people that have the courage to start their own practice. So tell us a little bit about you and how that came about.
Oh my gosh, we would need like a 3-series podcast to talk about how this all came to fruition.
We could do that.
But you need to really, you really need to understand my background before even being a lawyer to understand how I even got here, because I think about all the time, like it's crazy how I've reached this point, because I had big dreams as a young girl, but I've far surpassed that. And I feel so grateful to even be where I'm at. But, I really wanted to be a doctor. It all started there. And, I took the MCAT. I did okay. I was going to have to move to go away from med school. That wasn't an option for me. I was working full time and barely making it financially. So I started working at a law firm, just answering phones. It was like one of my third jobs that I had and in the day. And it eventually progressed to me like doing more and more and more at the firm. And then I kind of was like, I guess I'll take the LSAT and go to law school. And I got in and I was terrible. I was so bad that I had a professor tell me, you should really reconsider being a lawyer, because science and law was very different for me. I have since gone back and taught that professor's law class, by the way.
Wow.
But yeah, twice. But so I got really upset. Yeah, I got really upset about that. And so I started practicing talking out loud and recording myself. And it eventually became where I was winning all these mock trials and getting Kellye Awards, top of my class. And people were like, this is so bizarre because she seems so stupid. And from that point forward, they did. But from that point forward, I really learned that if you are prepared, that will give you confidence, and confidence is key to succeeding at being, I think, in anything you do in business, but especially a lawyer. So when I went and started working as an associate in Chicago, I was so thrilled, and I wanted to be the best associate ever. And I was putting just as much effort like I did in law school to be that perfect cookie cutter associate. And in doing that, I really realized that I didn't have any self-identity, and I was actually really unhappy. I was telling myself I was happy, but I wasn't. I was trying to be like everyone else, be the stereotypical female lawyer that everyone expects you to be. And I was really struggling with, this isn't necessarily who I am, but this is what society, expects me to be and dress and look and talk. So I was just kind of going through motions, and I didn't have any creativity. And one thing I want to say, and for all anyone who's an associate attorney at a firm, I want to say it is a privilege to associate your name with that firm, and you need to treat it like it's almost your own firm. And that's what I did. I really cared about my cases. I cared about them this was my own business. And with that mentality, I didn't know it at the time because I never dreamt of starting a law firm. that was the best thing I ever did for myself, because when I did start a firm, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I had been paying attention to what everyone was doing, from the secretaries to the paralegals to the liens, so that it prepared me for when I went out on my own. But in the process of trying to be this amazing associate and never make mistakes, I was really burning myself out. I mean, I was working every single day till 2 a.m. I mean, I really just lost myself, so much so in my work that I think I just essentially snapped. So when the time came where I decided to start my own firm, it was actually not even a decision. It was an impulsive, I quit. I've had enough.
Wow.
And I'm actually leaving the practice of law. I thought, because I was so emotional about how personally I was taking my cases or taking mistakes. I had a hard time accepting criticism. It was really difficult for me, that I felt like I didn't have the backbone to be a lawyer. I didn't have what it took. I didn't fit the mold. So I quit, and I had nothing planned at all. My husband didn't even know I was quitting. It was literally like, I'm done. Boom.
That's
and
crazy.
5 days went by. Yeah, I 5 days went by, and I'm like, I had organized my closet. I had redone the pantry. I'm like, what the heck do I do now with myself? And I had a mediation coming up on cases that I had brought in that were my own cases that I left with my firm, that they had agreed that I could still partake in, because I didn't want to abandon my clients. And I went to that mediation, and man, it was like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I swear. I realized at that moment, like, what the heck am I doing? I am meant to be a lawyer. This is what I was born to do. The fact that I am passionate and that I am emotional is not a bad thing. And I think as female lawyers, we're sort of trained to think like, we can't be that way. We can't be emotional because, of course, someone's going to step in and say, well, that's women for you. But I think that was the quality that I had that really helped me succeed. So when I decided I needed to get back into law, which was like a week after quitting, I was like, well, where do I go? Who's going to take me in? And it was really scary. And, I was still heartbroken from leaving my firm. It's the greatest heartbreak of my life, but yet the greatest decision. And some people were saying, like, you should start your own firm. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard. Like, I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to start an LLC. Like,
turned out to be a good decision.
Yeah. And so my husband's like, well, I can start an LLC for you. I've done it. I'll make you a website. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And then they're like, you got to get insurance too. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, there really wasn't, I'm not going to lie, I should not probably admit this, there wasn't really a business plan. There wasn't. But I had my work ethic, and what I learned, I thought, I was this quiet, little lawyer who didn't have a voice. But what I learned is apparently my voice that I didn't even know I had was reaching people, because people started contacting me saying, hey, I have a case, or I need help on a case, or will you co-counsel with me on a case? So a majority of my business started with actually co-counseling, which if anyone's interested in starting a firm and having low risk or low costs, I highly encourage starting out that way, because you're joining cases that other attorneys are already investing in, so you don't have to put up the funds to invest in those cases. And that's how I got my start. And it exploded from there. I mean, in 2 months, I had, I think, over 25 cases already, which was amazing. But it is scary. And, being a solo practitioner, it can be, you have your moments where it is lonely and you feel like, am I enough? And I think as women, we always sometimes think that, whether it's in our relationships or as a daughter or as a wife or as, an attorney, we always wonder, are we enough? And I have to give myself daily affirmations and remind myself I am, because if this were easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of the things that you've mentioned is something that we've talked about so much, and being entrepreneurs and obviously women entrepreneurs, you never feel ready to start your own business, right? And a lot of times the same thing happened with me, right? I had no desire to start my own business, and it just was something I sort of fell into almost by happenstance. And while you never feel ready, you can always prepare yourself. You can always over prepare. You can always work harder than anybody else. And so you never feel ready, but you have this ability to really prepare yourself, learn the things you need to learn. It sounds like it was a no-brainer for you to start your firm just based on how hard you had been working for somebody else, right?
Yeah, in my mind, I didn't change how I was working when I went from associate to business owner. It was business as usual. I still save documents the same way we would save it in our system, like the titles of the PDFs, just because I just kept going with it. And when I went out on my own, though, I told myself, like, now is the time to be unapologetically you. Screw what everybody else thinks. I've lived, honestly, a majority of my life trying, like I said, to fit a mold of what society expects of me. My parents, not that they're tough on me or anything, but you want to make them proud. And I was like, this is my time to do this for me. This is for me, and this is what makes me happy. And when I started doing that, I became what I now consider a real trial lawyer. Like, I look at who I am now compared to who I was, about 2.5 years ago when I was not on my own yet. And it is like night and day. I'm such a different lawyer, and the results that I get is so much better in terms of how I resolve cases, the creativity that I have. Like, we're in a sea of competition. Like, why should we be like everybody else? Do something different, be creative, be innovative.
Yeah, Megan, tell us a little bit about that. Like, how does it feel so different now? What changed in you? What do you think is your edge now that you didn't really have when you were practicing as an associate with another firm?
Man, that's a tough question. I think confidence and security and integrity. I feel like I really know in this area of the law what I'm doing. And there are certain things that I feel that I know better than most, which is I do electronic medical record auditing. So I feel very confident in my little niche. And then I also feel secure in who I am. Like, once I did just say, screw it, I'm going to be the Megan that I've been kind of hiding. Because believe it or not, I was super shy and the biggest introvert you've ever met.
I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, very shy, very, very shy. And once I just got a little bit of affirmation back from the legal community, it was all I needed. Like, honestly, all I needed was for just one or two people to be like, Megan, you're good at what you do. And that's something that I feel like a lot of lawyers don't do enough of, is they don't compliment other lawyers, because there's this whole like competitive atmosphere, particularly with women. And I think that it's so important that we should be lifting each other up. And I know that sounds cheesy, but telling people they're doing a great job, or walking up to the person in the room. Like, I walked up to you and when I saw you present, and I'm like, hey, I'm Megan. I'm so excited to meet you. But I think that can go a long way with people when you feel noticed, and you want to feel seen for the hard work you're doing, because what we're doing is really, really hard. I mean, anyone who says, they're doing this to help people, yeah, that's part of it, but they're not telling the full truth. You're doing it for yourself too, and you need to feel appreciated in order to succeed and be great at what you do. And then the other thing I mentioned was integrity. I can pick my own cases now, which is great, and I believe in every case I have. And I want the defense to know when my name's on that case, like, they better be worried. This isn't some like ambulance chaser. Like, I believe in this case and I'm taking it to the end.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned, women sometimes are harder on other women and tend sometimes not to be. We're all competing sometimes women think we just have to compete as opposed to collaborate and complement, and it's just kind of a dog eat dog world. But it's really interesting when you do find a group of women that are more about encouraging as opposed to competing and trying to fight for, there's so much, especially in the legal industry, there's enough for everybody, right, to go around. And when you make a name for yourself, we've said before, right, like collaboration happens at the top, competition happens at the bottom. But it is interesting that women tend to try to feel like they have to compete harder with one another, as opposed to just embracing one another and helping each other.
There are the female attorneys who want to help you, but then they also want to take credit for helping you. And that can be frustrating too. And so, when I step in to help someone or mentor someone, like I'm not looking for anything back from it, but there are people that kind of want that recognition back, and that can be just as dangerous, I think, and toxic as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm super curious because it's something that women more specifically than men have to deal with, and that is the being emotional, right? And you mentioned that you sort of harnessed your emotion, and especially working on the kinds of cases that you work on representing people that have been really injured. How do you use that emotional side of yourself and your practice to help you in your cases and with your clients? I think so many women are afraid, you can't be too emotional. You can't be too aggressive. How do you use your emotional aspect to really to push your cases and push your business?
It's a double-edged sword, because I have days where I'm like, why can't I just not care so much? Like, why can I not get just angry when a defense attorney annoys me or makes stupid objections? But then the flip side of that is the passion, I think, shows through my cases or when I'm cross-examining a defendant in a case. I think that really helps me and moves me and just makes me want to work harder. They say, if you love what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. And I do feel that way. I get so excited, especially when I'm consulting on other attorneys' cases and I get those medical records. I'm like, ooh, what am I going to find? But I definitely, even though I'm a civil trial lawyer, I definitely handle my cases like I'm prosecuting them like a criminal case. I get so sucked into it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah. And I think that is something that we should embrace. I think the best advice that I could ever give someone is, I used to hate being underestimated. I still am every single day. But I think we need to embrace that, and learning to embrace all those, whatever you think is negative or a negative quality of yours or a negative quality in the work field, embrace it and use it as a weapon, be that black widow that they never saw coming. And that's how I like to practice.
That's so good. I love that.
I think the whole Black Widow analogy is terrifying, but really actually true. You just don't ever see them coming. I wanted to ask you, and I know Lisa's got some burning questions too. I wanted to ask you about that mediation that you went to. So after you left your firm and you decided to stay on to just fulfill your commitment to your clients, and then when you were at that mediation and you just knew from deep down inside you that you were at the right place at the right time, what happened to make you realize just how powerful you were in that moment?
So, the case was an interesting case. It was a sexual assault case in a massage practice or chain, and nobody wanted to take the case. And it was someone I had actually met. She was a waitress, or I think a front of house manager at a restaurant. She was telling me about it. And I was like, I'm going to look into this. And I started investigating, and I realized there's all these Yelp reviews about other women being sexually assaulted. And then I started doing a police, you can look on the website, every time the police had gone there had been a number of times. And to see that case go from no one wanting it and no one believing her to now I have this client, I'm representing her, I'm getting a result, and all the other women at this same establishment, that was so rewarding to me. And I'm really happy to say that man who assaulted these girls he was criminally charged. His license was revoked. So that for me was just such a rewarding experience, and knowing that like I made a difference in someone's life. And I just knew that like that's what I was meant to do, like that I had gone the extra step to investigate this, but also like how organically I got the case to begin with, which is something that as business women we need to be aware of. Like every time I go out or I go on vacation, I've got my business cards with me. And I want to know everyone I talk to, and I want to understand everyone I meet and what their story is, because that person may potentially be your next client. And so that's why the case was really meaningful to me.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you decided to keep practicing, because if you didn't, I would never have met you. We had a lot of fun.
Yes. And Megan, first of all, congratulations for like just getting out of there when it wasn't working for you and then starting your own firm. So I heard you say you're 2.5 years into your new firm. What is the unapologetically Megan doing differently regarding interactions with other women in your field that you weren't doing at the law firm?
Oh, unapologetic Megan has no filter. If you know me, I tend to use some bad language every now and then.
I can relate.
Yeah. And being happy, enjoying what you're doing, and realizing like you don't have to practice law a certain way. Like, yes, there are rules we have to follow as lawyers. There's civil rules of procedure, but be creative. And so, I mean, everyone knows, okay, you file a case, you get written discovery, blah, 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 going through those motions. But what can you do in between all that, right? Like, what can I do to, like I said, prosecute the case? And so I feel like that's unapologetic Megan. Part of it too is like, I used to kind of not like do as much hair and makeup, and I'm a girly girl when it comes to that stuff. So my appearance also is a part of it. Like when I'm having a good hair day, I'm actually a better lawyer. I mean, I don't know if that's for everyone else, but it works for me. Like
I can totally relate.
So, it's not just about actually practicing law.
It's so true. Yeah. When you look good, you feel good.
You look good today. Megan. You look very good today.
Thank you. But yeah, it's not just about even like practicing law a certain way. It's about just like being me, having an identity, being feminine. Like it's okay. I mean, it's being proud of being a female trial lawyer. I know some people don't like when people like put themselves in that category of I'm a female trial lawyer. You should say you're a trial lawyer. I'm proud to say I'm a female trial lawyer, and I'm proud to say that I don't need anybody else. I don't have a partner. There are days I want one. Maybe I should, but I like that this is something that when you call my firm, you are getting me. You're not getting an associate or someone else. Like when you call a billboard, this is my brand. This is something like I'm taking your case. And when I say Shore Law is taking your case, Megan Shore is taking your case. And I take it really personally. So that's unapologetic Megan.
And I love your energy. Like Megan, you have amazing energy. And just, we're not even in the same room together, and I can just see it. I can see it when you're talking. I can see it just, exudes from you. So I can only imagine like where you're going to go next. You'll just keep on building and going and growing.
Yeah, you are truly, you are meant to be doing the work that you're doing. You're doing such important work. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us and educating, helping us grow and learn a little bit. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks so much, Megan, for being with us.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.